Local 4 News starts now with a breaking news alert.
Good afternoon and thanks for joining me. I'm Christy McDonald in for Karen Drew this afternoon. First at 4, breaking news from the city of Detroit as it launches a massive overhaul of its car towing system. You may remember the past system has been ripe for corruption, with several city officials and police officers convicted of crimes. Well, now the city has given 7 tow companies contracts that go into effect next Monday. There will be an automated software system that determines which company receives towing requests. Each company gets a turn, and any favoritism will get flagged. We are also told vehicle owners will be able to track their vehicle status by visiting findmytowedcar.org. Mayor Mike Duggan says there's also relief for some drivers who've had their cars stolen.
With today's actions, all of the stolen vehicles in the city of Detroit will come to Detroit Police Department tow yards, and Chief White will outline the plan. But if you have a hardship case, you don't have insurance covering your auto theft, we will waive the storage fees. So whether you live here or whether you're a visitor here, if your car is stolen in Detroit, you will no longer have to pay out of pocket in order to get it back.
We did have a crew at that news conference, and we will have more on the changes and how they all work on Local 4 News at 5 today. Another big freeway closure is coming, and it could impact your weekend plans and your drive to work. Both directions of I-94 will be closed between I-75 and the Lodge. The freeway shuts down on Friday morning and is expected to reopen on Tuesday. From Friday night to Sunday night, though, the closure extends between I-75 and I-96. Crews will be working on the 2nd Avenue and the Grand River Avenue bridges. All right, let's go ahead and take a first look at our forecast. Paul Gross is in for Kim Adams today. So, Paul, what does the evening look like for us?
Well, I'll tell you what, we are in for another good evening of shopping weather. So after dinner, you're thinking about heading out, no problems. Now, you can see we have a lot of cloud cover around as we look live here on our Ann Arbor Sky Cam at the big house there. And temperatures are a bit of a struggle here. We're in the mid-30s in many spots. In fact, our north zone, we have spots that are only in the low 30s right now. Wind is blowing from the east, not terribly strong, but it is going to pick up incrementally as we move through the next 24 hours. But tonight, light wind, dry conditions, temperatures just kind of nudging down a couple 3 degrees. So basically staying in the low to mid 30s through the evening hours. But exact track 40 radar, while we are dry, you're starting to see stuff kind of encroaching on the areas across Lake Michigan. We'll come back and talk about the impacts of that storm. We'll have a timetable for you coming up in just a little bit, Christy.
Sounds good, Paul. We'll see you in a little bit. Well, little by little, it seems that inflation is slowing down, and that is the encouraging news in the latest report on consumer prices. But we are still a long way from where we were before the COVID-19 pandemic wreaked havoc on the American economy. Kimberly Gill is in the newsroom with reaction from President Biden and really what comes next for us. Kim?
Hi, Christy. Good afternoon to you. President Biden calls today's report, quote, welcome news just before the holidays, but he says he can't predict when the prices we all pay will get back to normal. Let's take a look at where things stand right now. So consumer prices rose 7.1% in November compared to a year ago. That's down sharply from the 7.7% increase in October, and it's down 2 points from the recent peak of more than 9% back in June. So-called core inflation, which excludes the prices of energy and food, is now down to 6%. But inflation was at 2% before COVID hit. President Biden talked about the delicate balancing act we're all facing.
My goal is simple: get price increases under control without choking off economic growth. Bring inflation down while keeping our labor market resilient. Build an economy from the bottom up and the middle out, an economy with good jobs, good wages, and for the long run, not a boom or bust economy.
Tomorrow, all eyes will turn to the Federal Reserve. It's expected to announce another increase in interest rates. Right now, analysts are betting it will be just a half-point increase, which is smaller than the last 4 rate hikes. But we'll be watching it all for you tomorrow, and we'll bring you more as soon as we know it. I'll see you at 5. Christy, for now, we'll send it back to you.
All right, sounds good. Thanks so much, Kim. Well, we're learning new details about the charges against the former CEO of the failed cryptocurrency firm FTX. Sam Bankman-Fried was arrested yesterday in the Bahamas. He's facing both civil and criminal charges. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission has charged him with orchestrating a scheme to defraud investors. Late today, federal prosecutors announced similar criminal charges and revealed Bankman-Fried is also accused of illegal campaign contributions worth tens of millions of dollars. The former CEO was arrested in the Bahamas and has the right to contest his extradition. That could delay, but not likely to stop his transfer back to the U.S. Well, we told you it was coming yesterday, first at 4, and today, Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm confirmed a nuclear energy breakthrough that some scientists are calling the holy grail of clean energy. Scientists at the Livermore National Laboratory were able to produce a nuclear fusion reaction that creates energy. The breakthrough could produce an endless supply of clean power without radioactive waste or fossil fuel emissions. Granholm says the Biden administration has big plans for a commercial fusion industry.
With the highest safety standards, with cost-effective, equitable deployment that positions American businesses to lead and communities to thrive, and with a skilled workforce that's diverse and inclusive. This is what it looks like for America to lead. And we're just getting started.
Yeah, this is big news today. Scientists say fusion could eventually be used to power entire cities. That will take time, of course, to develop. But this breakthrough is the beginning of that process. Well, President Biden is just signing the Respect for Marriage Act at a White House ceremony. Let's go ahead and take a live look. This is happening live outside of the White House right now. The new legislation gives some measure of federal protection to same-sex and interracial couples. Supporters are worried, though, that United States Supreme Court could overturn its ruling that made gay marriage legal throughout the U.S. And while the new law protects many couples, there is a risk to that right to marry here in Michigan. Paula Tutman joins us now live tonight to explain all of that. Paula?
Yeah, so there are people who obviously believe that the choice of a marriage partner is a very private and personal decision. And those are people who would say that what President Biden did today is a good thing, but it is not the thing that would protect same-sex marriages, for instance, in Michigan in the future. As a judge for the 36th District Court in Detroit before retiring, one of Rudy Sear's favorite jobs was to marry people, any and all people who'd found that elusive, soul-searing joy called love.
I've married a black woman to a white man, a white woman to a black man, 2 African-American folks, 2 white folks. I've done every combination, and now same-sex couples as well.
But as a man who happens to be gay,
I had a partner for many years, and if we had been able to get married, I would have been entitled to benefits, including health insurance and so on, that I never got.
He has always been acutely aware that there are things done behind closed doors between married people and consenting adults that to this day remain against the law. And so he says the time has come for states to revisit the laws on their books to eradicate dormant laws that pry into the privacies of people and could turn them into criminals if those laws are challenged and brought back from dormancy, including Michigan's 2004 ban on same-sex marriage.
Unless there's an injury involved to someone, it is a private matter.
And it is that law and the law that overturned that law called the Obergefell case that concerns Rudy, because an invitation by Justice Clarence Thomas to challenge and revisit certain inalienable rights that have been the laws of the land for decades that protect privacies. Professor Diane Hartmus teaches constitutional law for Oakland University.
This all hinges on Obergefell being overturned. Yes, it's very scary that Thomas brought this up in an opinion. That's unusual. It's frightening. And I think Biden is trying to really make a statement. I mean, Congress, too. This was overwhelmingly bipartisan.
And so what President Biden signed today, the Respect for Marriage Act, which forces states to recognize existing marriages for everyone who is legally married, including same-sex couples, it does not guarantee that sometime next year or whenever, should the Obergefell case be challenged and overturned in Michigan, while same-sex couples who are already married, their marriages will still be recognized, but same-sex couples wanting to get married could lose the right to get married at all.
Michigan has this amendment to our Constitution that says marriage is between one man and one woman, only one man and one woman. If Obergefell is overturned, that takes effect.
Yeah, so now legal experts will also tell you that even though there are no current challenges to the Obergefell case, that it was a dog whistle. The fact that Clarence Thomas called it by name, that there will be cases a-coming. Christy, back to you.
All right, thanks so much. It was a great explainer. Thanks, Paula.